Let's drink some beer. This is all just a desperate cry for attention. Oh God, we're sucking right now.
I want to be able to grow more dicks. Dude, this is consensual.
I am Frank.
Dude, yeah, psychic powers like Grace.
So, election years.
Goddamn election years.
Goddamn airport fucking airplane food. Hate it.
Yeah, not good.
Not good.
Never in my lifetime has it been good.
Fucking lines, don't like them.
Can't stand them. Not,
They're not fun.
especially when you have to be 6 feet apart, because now lines just are haphazardly formed through gas stations. If you do indeed go inside gas stations,
Yeah, where does it start? Where does it end?
virus stations.
Yeah, oh yeah, virus stations.
That's where the virus is.
Fuck, people don't even wear their mask in the gas station.
In South Carolina, no. I often see people not wearing masks at the gas station, and no one says anything to anyone. Except for the one time I was half awake and forgot that I live in a time period where a virus has run rampant and everyone wears masks now, and walked into a gas station with the mask on my head. Forgot about it.
Yep.
And then somebody, of course, said something.
Yep.
It's like, oh, shit, yep.
Yeah, well, it's like, as my recent former manager, he was an older gentleman in his probably 50s. He was just like, I'm ready to die. I just don't even care. He was like, I respect everyone who wants to wear a mask, but for me, I just don't even care anymore.
Oh, fuck, dude, what? It's so deeply dark.
It was dark. Said it at a team meeting.
Dude, I'm like not that. Is he only 50?
No, he might be like 60. I'm not really sure.
Even still. Dude. So,
Anyway.
election years. Hate them.
Yep. Moving on. Welcome to Far Out Flicks.
Yep.
We're back.
Back again.
My name is Braden, and this is Andrew, and tonight we're talking about the film Annihilation.
Annihilation. As always, preface, there will be spoilers. You should watch the movie first, or if you don't care about spoilers, then just keep listening.
Exactly. And so this movie, actually we had a poll a while back.
Way back.
And Annihilation, I think, got second place in the poll, so we didn't make the podcast right away. But now we're doing it because we don't give a shit about the polls. They're just made up, and your opinions don't matter.
We've all been busy. We've been busy, folks. But I also had already purchased it on Amazon Prime, so it was like readily accessible.
It's convenient.
It is. It was a convenient choice, and I just fucking love this movie. This movie did not get released to a lot of noise. I mean, some certainly, but in my opinion, for the caliber of the film, it was super quiet when it first came out.
It was. And so this movie was written and directed by Alex Garland, who is also the same guy who did Ex Machina.
So good.
Ex Machina is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And also the same guy, Alex Garland, back in the 90s wrote this novel called The Beach, which was adapted into a film with Leonardo DiCaprio. Which, it's pretty awesome in a corny way, but it's fucking cool.
He's also got super sweet writing credits in 28 Days Later, which is probably my favorite zombie movie of all time. I don't know, tough choice, but very up there. Sunshine, another Danny Boyle film, sci-fi horror that's super worth visiting eventually on this podcast, as well as executive or producer credit on 28 Weeks Later.
Nice. So this guy is pretty cool, basically.
He's made some good stuff.
And what book was it based on?
The book it's based on shares the same title, Annihilation, is by Jeff Vandermeer. And it's the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy, with the sequels being Authority and Acceptance. From what I've heard, the second two books, I mean, if you really want to do it and can read, I mean, we all only got so many hours to read, right? You know, even the biggest bookworms, so many hours in the day. It may be like, don't read the two sequels. But it's all still pretty cool. All very heady stuff. It's additional call out. It's very, very heavy-handedly influenced by Roadside Picnic, which was a Strugatsky brothers novel or novella, maybe, which they were very prominent Soviet sci-fi authors.
It's interesting though, because James Vandermeer, to this day, he claims that had no influence, even though it's almost the same.
Dude, fuck bullshit. Bullshit.
Even though it's almost the same.
Either way, the Strugatsky, yeah. Sorry if I'm gonna piss Jeff Vandermeer off, but like, it's so obvious that there's heavy influence between the two.
That is very true, and also actually shares many similarities with an H.P. Lovecraft story. Did you know that?
Which one?
The Color Out of Space.
Yeah, which is also a film now with Nick Cage in it.
Oh, really? I want to watch that.
Totally worth watching, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
You're gonna love it.
I love Nick Cage. We fully endorse everything Nick Cage does at this podcast.
It's got Nick Cage. It's got body horror. It's got, I think, tentacles at some point or another. It hits the Holy Three. It is.
Let's just say it's coming soon here at Far Out Flicks.
It's coming soon in the pipeline. But yeah, the Strugatsky brothers book went on to be the inspiration for Stalker, a Tarkovsky film.
Tarkovsky's The Stalker.
U.S.
We hope to do that one at some point.
Almost definitely. If not that, then Solaris.
Yep.
I mean, I'd even be okay with doing the George Clooney Americanized version, because, you know, it's like more or less close enough.
I don't know about that.
I like them both, man, and it conveys the same thing. They are different. They are very different.
Fair enough.
And Tarkovsky is, you know, of historical value, if for no other reason.
Sure.
But also the Stalker video games.
I never played those.
They're sweet, dude. They're super cool. Check them out. Not to get too off track, because we're talking about Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Mortal Kombat. Annihilation.
Not to be confused with Mortal Kombat. Yeah, Annihilation.
Not the same thing at all. So the like very intro to the film, before even characters are shown on screen, we see this comet careening towards Earth and like shooting through this lighthouse. With I think what's the theme music of the song, but it very strong similarities to our flick last week, The Thing. In my opinion,
absolutely.
And we'll talk about that more, but like, long story short, I pretty much think this is like The Thing on steroids. We see it crash into this lighthouse, which will become like a central plot point throughout the film. That's like the target destination. And it's kind of fantastical, you know? It's got like a little fantastic element to it. So we're traveling towards the lighthouse.
Oh, it's awesome.
They might as well be traveling towards the castle.
Oh, it's cool.
It is cool. I'm not ragging on it. It's awesome.
The meteor falls from the sky, lands on the lighthouse. And then, so essentially, if we're at the beginning of the movie, it's, what's her name?
Natalie Portman.
It's Natalie Portman, and she is being interviewed by some scientists.
Yep. In, like, full hazmat suits.
And there's like all these students like watching behind the glass.
Are they students or are they just fellow scientists?
a good question.
And you're just assuming they're students because they're not into action, but maybe everybody's observing.
Solid point. Well, you know, I have one large tooth. I don't know if you've ever noticed.
I see it.
Yep. And one time I was at the dentist, and the dentist was like, "Wow, that's really, really unusual. What? Whoa! How did that happen? Is it two teeth fused together? What's going on?" And then he went around the dentist and got all the other dentists, and they all crowded around me, and it was like, "This is an example of a da-da-da-da-da," and they were all learning, and I was the specimen.
Fascinating.
Pretty good. But, kind of like that. So, anyway, she's the one being examined and questioned to bring it back to the movie. And they're asking her how she survived so long with... She only had 2 weeks rations of food, but somehow she was in there for 4 months.
Yeah, she said she doesn't remember eating.
And we learned to find out that she had been... How do we explain the fucking premise of this movie?
It's a tough one. So basically, we'll go from that point to her teaching in a classroom. She's a professor. Fuck it, what university? It's somewhere, I think, in the South. But she's a professor of cellular biology with like a specialization in like cancerous cells. To not be too medical about it, because I'm not a doctor.
Yep.
And it's like this weird scene when she's like leaving where like a colleague tries to invite her over and she's real cold about it, and she goes home and like starts painting the room, her bedroom. Her husband, it's like it's alluded to as her husband's been gone for a year. She's painting it, and it's like her husband shows back up.
Oh yeah, and he's acting all weird and stuff.
He's kind of weird, yeah, for sure.
Dude, he's weird. The guy they cast for that role is just a weird... That guy's good at being weird.
I think it's Oscar Isaacs.
He's a weirdo.
Oh, he's good in this film. I like... His name's Kane, by the way. And Natalie Portman's character's name is Lena. It is revealed through, like, some... of the scenery in the house, you know, pictures and stuff, that they were both in the military, and it's not like really, you know, it's not made clear where her husband's been. He just shows up after a year, and
he shows up, and then she's asking him all these questions, and he doesn't have any answers. He just keeps being like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like he's just been fucking on holiday, and he's just lying about everything.
He can't remember. She like asks, you know, presumably it was a military thing. Was it covert? What was it like where you were?
He said maybe it was covert.
Yeah, he did say maybe to that. But he just like couldn't give her any other information. And then he like starts, you know,
seizing out
and like bleeding out his mouth.
That's not good.
It's not good. It's not what you... No.
He was acting
bleeding
weird.
out your mouth. That's bad.
No, that's bad.
Bad.
And so they rush him to the emergency room.
Yep. Or they're trying to.
Yep. And then when they're in the emergency room, don't they, like, kidnap her?
Well, no, they don't even make it to the emergency room. They're, like, in the back of the ambulance, and, like, a bunch of black SUVs with lights on, like, basically run him off the road. At this point, he's like, you know, he's strapped down to the gurney. We'll say gurney.
Yeah, it's gurney.
It's gurney. Strapped down to a gurney, and he's like freaking out, spitting up blood everywhere.
Yep.
And all these like men blacked out, you know, tack gear, authoritative figures of some unknown governmental branch basically swarm him.
That's what always happens.
That's what always...
That's happening now.
It's literally kind of happening right now. But that's neither here nor there. That's a whole nother story. Stop him, and then basically they drug up Lena. They hit her in the neck with some like intravenous... Venous.
Yep.
Venous.
Intravenous. Oh, that
And
was,
she, like,
that
she-
was disturbing.
It wasn't meant to be. I was like, trying to be like James Brown.
In a vein, yes. Oh!
It's her next fresh track. It's coming.
Coming next. Alright.
So when she wakes up, she's in like a very like sterile, almost like hospital room room, and enters a woman like in a business suit, kind of like older blonde woman. She starts kind of checking on her, saying, "Oh, you must feel like you have a hangover," and so, meh. After getting basically drugged, sedated. And that's when they reveal kind of what the score is. Her he's like hooked up to all kinds of equipment. They've got him stabilized, but he's unconscious and looks like he's dying. He's got some like weird shit going on with his eyes.
He's fucked up.
He's fucked up.
He's way fucked up.
And basically from like an observation hub, the command center, they can look out and they see that there's this like wall of like shimmering light all out in front of them, and she reveals that since this comet that we saw at the very beginning crashed through this lighthouse slowly, there's been this force field, basically, for lack of a better word,
it basically is
expanding out, and it's been slow and gradual, but everything they've sent in, people, the best of the best, fucking like the team they sent in for Predator, they sent those guys in.
None of them came back.
Drones didn't come back.
And there's no radio communication. It's like a bubble around this lighthouse. It's just growing and growing and growing.
Kind of looks like a bubble.
And she says...
The shimmer is what they call it.
The shimmer, and she says, like, next week or whatever, where we're standing will be in the shimmer.
Mm-hmm.
And they're basically composing a new team to try to go into the shimmer.
Yep.
And they're asking her if she'll do it, and she agrees. And they're going to send 5 women into the shimmer to try to go to the lighthouse and find out the source of this magical...
And collect as much data as possible.
Exactly. It's like a team of scientists.
So, and actually, here's the kicker. A all-female team of scientists. And like, dude, if I ever have a daughter, this is going to be like when my dad shared Predator with me. Like, they're all kick-ass, like, military scientists.
That is true.
Every character.
Most of them die.
All ladies. Literally, the only dudes in, like, the whole movie are, one, super slim cast, which is elegantly done. But, like, the only the dudes have, like, less than 5 minutes of total screen time. And that's
true.
It's good. Refreshing. Again, shocking that this didn't make, like, bigger waves when it came out.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, exactly. I mean, apparently there was kind of a creative struggle where the filmmakers wanted it to be as is, and the producers who were financing the film thought it was too intellectual for a general audience. So they like basically almost tried to shut it down. They didn't really promote it. It went straight to Netflix internationally. Didn't get much promotion.
So basically this business suited lady, the head of this organization, the Southern Reach organization, name of the trilogy.
Yep.
More or less extends to Lena, like, the offer to be part of the crew that goes in. And she's like kind of hesitant at first, but she's got nothing to lose. Her husband's dying. It's bizarre. It kind of relates to her field of expertise.
But possibly. It's basically a suicide mission.
It is. It is ultimately, very possibly, a suicide mission. More or less. I mean, nobody else made it out. Except for her husband.
Who came back all fucking... He was kind of like the guy who came back from China and was all lobotomized.
You mean North Korea?
Oh, yeah, North Korea.
Otto Warmbier?
Warmbier.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he was... we don't know if he was lobotomized. That's... but he definitely came back all scrambled. Tragic.
Yeah. Indeed. Continuing.
Continuing on. Past this moment in U.S. tragedy.
Damn it, why do we only talk about depressing and dark shit?
I don't know, dude.
Why can't we have an uplifting, motivational message for our listeners?
Look, they're not coming here for motivation.
No.
We're merchants of laughter and discourse about cinematography.
Exactly. So, and this is a good movie for that. It's pretty depressing, pretty good.
I mean,
film,
it's like also beautiful as well.
That's true.
You know,
Everything inside the shimmer is strange and beautiful.
yeah, like right out the get go, you know, they enter and then it like flashes forward and they've set up camp and none of them have memories of that at all. Like it's already starting to affect how they perceive things.
And inside it's like a beautiful jungle environment
Yeah,
with like all these vibrant colors. It's very alive.
it's a swamp, is what it is. It's fucking Florida, southern. There might be northern Florida. I think it's southern Florida though.
It looks cool as hell though. There's all these flowers growing and stuff.
It is kind of cool. I professionally spend some time in swamps, and none of it looks particularly enjoyable to me. But that's just me, you know.
Like swamp people.
Yeah, but bravo, because like again, I mean, it just makes the mission that much tougher. That they're having to deal with fucking swamp elements. Swamps are miserable. Bugs,
Swamps are awful.
mosquitoes, snakes,
Alligators.
gators. Yeah, gators for sure.
Weird swamp people.
Which were, yeah, you never know.
Possible Sasquatches. I do believe there is a swamp variety.
Does it have a different name? I'm honestly embarrassed. I don't know this.
Swamp Squatch.
It's official.
That's what I'm calling it.
Swamp Squatch.
Swamp Squatch.
Sounds like something you get like on a hot day. And you're like underwear.
Oh,
This
yeah.
region.
Oh, got the Swamp Squatch.
I got the Swamp Squatch.
Don't mind me just fucking rubbing my Swamp Squatch off.
Yeah, gotta get that Swamp Squatch ointment. All right,
It sounds like we have ourselves a brand.
Swamp Squatch. So, speaking of alligators, they come upon like a shack that has some boats, and they're like, you know, found some boats. There's a river, probably beats walking through the jungle, and one of the girls is like standing in this doorway by the shack, and just gets like fucking yanked in. And she gets like pulled in. Lena runs after her.
Oh, yeah.
She's like pulled down into this like submerged buildings, like flooded area. She manages to get out. They all get out like to the shoreline, and this fucking huge gator bursts out the side.
Giant alligator.
Fucking giant. It charges at him. Basically, Lena fucking murks it like a total badass.
Oh, yeah.
You know, drops down to one knee. It's like mag dumps the fucking
Yeah,
thing.
she shoots the fuck out of that thing.
Dun, 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 dun.
Damn. Yep, Natalie Portman's a badass in this.
But when they're looking at the dead thing, the other girl survived, by the way. When they're looking at the dead alligator, Lena notes that it has concentric rows of teeth. So, like, that's not something that alligators have. It's something that sharks have. And basically, she makes the comment like something has this gene pool all messed up.
Very interesting, and that will play heavily into this movie.
So now, like, the swamp scenery at this point is like plants of like all different varieties melded into one. So like different flowers from different types of flowers all growing off the same branches.
Yep.
Weird lichen, colorful, bizarre
Colorful,
lichen.
mold-looking lichen on everything.
Yeah.
It's very... That stuff is like taking over, seemingly.
It's like it's like corruption.
These buildings are abandoned. So I have a theory about some of this. Is like at the beginning, she's a cellular biologist.
Yep.
And at the beginning, she's talking about cancer. And it's almost like this weird growth is like, at one point, they even say, like, it's like malignant.
Yeah, no, there's definitely some, like, strong analogs between whatever is going on inside the Shimmer and cancer.
Exactly.
Or the plot itself.
There is this strange, but like we said earlier, everything's beautiful and strange.
Natalie Portman even says that at one point to the scientist that's interviewing her after all of this. He asked her if it was nightmarish, and she said not always. Sometimes it was beautiful.
Yep. So even like this cancerous growth is like this beautiful, multicolored, cool, lichen-looking stuff growing on everything.
Yeah, it's still very eerie and unsettling, though.
Absolutely.
So they travel upriver some, some character backstories reveal pretty much everybody there's damaged goods, a lot of emotional baggage.
Exactly. They've all screwed up their lives in one way or another.
Yeah. Or have just had tragedy befall them.
That's true. Yep. One woman lost her son to cancer.
Yep.
Another cancer reference. And then another character has cancer.
It was her daughter.
Yep.
Daughter.
One character's daughter had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another character who has cancer, but no one else knows.
Yeah, that's the head boss.
Yep. Ventress.
Yes. Ventress? Ventress, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, Ventress.
She's the head honcho.
So, anyway, now that we've introduced the characters, they're going up the river, and they find another cool spot. Right?
I guess you could call it a cool spot. They find the original base for Southern Reach when they first started observing the Shimmer, which the Shimmer had overtaken that. They had to retreat.
That's right. And it's all overgrown and abandoned looking.
Yeah, so they get there, they start looking around. I would not describe feeling good being in that building.
No, it looked really creepy and
creepy as fuck.
It looked like some fucked up shit happened there. It's all abandoned, overgrown.
And they find the camcorder.
They find the camcorder, and on the camcorder there's footage.
This is called the pool party scene, by the way. Like, if you're reading about this in any online media as you listen to us. The pool party scene.
And why don't you describe this video for our listeners?
So, it's a handheld footage of... At first you see Kane, Lena's husband, with the rest of his squad mates. And basically one of them is held down inside this pool against the pool wall, and like several guys are holding him down. Kane strokes his face, and then the camera zooms in on the guy's abdominal section, which is exposed. His chest his shirt's open, and you see this slithering going on underneath the skin.
Oh yeah, it's squirmy skin.
And then Kane
that always means there's an alien.
Kane basically skins his abdominal section and pulls it up, and the camera zooms in on it, and it's just these
he doesn't have a stomach or any normal organs. It's all just weird slithering tentacles inside of his body.
Yeah, Kane sticks his hand up inside it and it writhes over it.
Oh yeah. So he's totally full of worms or something.
Dude, something gross as fuck and weird and
Yep.
And everybody there is acting weird. They're all acting crazy.
Yep.
Absolutely out of their minds in the footage. And then we see Kane basically cleaning his hands in the water of the blood from the tentacle that he touched. I would never touch that under any circumstance.
Hell no.
Negative. Hard no.
Hell no.
Dude, I don't. As much as we like to act like we love tentacles, I'm not going to actively put one in my hand if it's inside somebody already.
So shortly after so they all watch this footage. They're all like shocked, like, "Oh, that's fucked up. What happened here?" They don't realize that Kane is Natalie Portman's husband. They haven't made that connection
Yeah,
yet.
she's not
keeping it
disclosed
secret.
Yeah.
So one girl kind of freaks out and like runs away from the others, and they're all like, "Where's she going?" They all follow her and they're trying to find her. Remember that part?
Yes.
And they follow her and they find her, and she's in the swimming pool that's like mostly drained out, but there's some water at the bottom.
Yeah.
And doesn't she like run into the swimming pool and they like have to save her?
She runs in and it gets like pretty deep, and then it like pans to the wall of the swimming pool, and there's this like
this part's cool
weird fusion tumorous growth that's like part man, part the colorful lichen,
and it looks like it's the guy from the video they were cutting open.
Correct. I actually
and his legs are on the bottom, and he's been ripped in half, and his torso in the upper part is all twisted like 10 feet up in the air.
Yeah, and his jaw and his head have been like separated.
And is all fused into the mold cancer growth on the wall. Oh, it's fucking cool.
It's some The Thing level body horror.
It is.
Well, I don't know. We don't see it alive. You know, if it was writhing.
No.
If it was writhing, it would be better.
So you know that guy's fate, like those worms inside of him just slowly grew until he just became an amorphous
part of the pool wall.
Yep, it's awesome.
So they're all pretty freaked out at this point. But pretty disturbing. One of them wants to get the fuck out of there, which I think is a totally understandable human response to seeing that abomination growing out of the wall.
Of course.
But they end up camping there for the night. And while they're there, they're in these like little towers or whatever, little huts throughout the facility, guard stations. And there's this like loud noise that comes from the perimeter fence.
Oh, yeah.
They're like looking for it with the night vision goggles.
They shine the light over there.
And then just like from out of frame, this giant bear just like chomps down on what's her name, Gloria?
I don't know. Stevens or something. I can't remember. All of a sudden, this bear just grabs one of the girls. She has a name, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And it just fucking pulls her off the screen into the woods. And they're all freaking out.
Just hear screaming.
Oh yeah, the terrible screaming. And they're all like, holy shit, they all get their guns, they're freaking out. They're like, what should we do?
Yeah. Well, at this point, they start kind of having some, like, team division, you know, like, not mutiny is not the right word, but...
That's right, the one girl with the short hair, she wants to go back.
Yeah, the former paramedic. She wants to go back and is trying to coerce through kind of, like, commanding tone that Lena agree with her.
Yep.
That going back is the right option.
The Ventress, who's kind of the leader, she's like, we're going to that fucking lighthouse. I'm going. If you want to go back, you can go back on your own.
Yep.
And then, ultimately, Natalie Portman's character, Lena, she just convinces everyone, like, we just got to keep going. It's the best way to get out of here. So they decide to keep going.
Well, at one point... One of the fellow scientists kind of makes the conclusion that the reason that they haven't been able to get radio signals or any communications is because this thing, whatever it is, expanding out just refracts everything.
Yes.
Like a prism.
Exactly.
But instead of just light, like it's genetic material.
So the next place they come up to is like this... It's kind of a beautiful, like, little village-looking thing. All covered in flowers, and there's these weird flower people. They're not real people, but they're, like, flower sculptures that look human.
And this is where Josie, the fellow scientist kind of warrior, basically theorizes that the shimmer is acting like a prism. It's refracting everything, the DNA of all things inside its boundaries, including their bodies.
That is crazy.
It is crazy.
That's some crazy shit, man.
Yep.
So basically all the animals and plants are just sharing their DNA.
Yep.
So that's a pretty good theory. I like it.
Natalie Portman, remember, she tests her blood, looks at it under a microscope.
And sees that it's behaving just the same way as like her sample of the weird mold.
Yep, it's got like the crazy.
It's essentially duplicating and like acting cancerous in the way that it just propagates.
Exactly, and at this point, she kind of like has like a dream sequence where she thinks back on her husband. It's been revealed through some other dream sequences that she was unfaithful to him with the colleague that invited her out to a function at the very beginning of the film. And it's kind of through some like flashbacks, it's more or less revealed that she believes that Kane took on the suicide mission because he knew about, you know, like fucking when he set the orange juice down on the table. Yeah. So like when Lena comes to, she, Ventress, and Josie are all tied up, like bound and gagged and tied to a chair.
Fucking drugged them all.
Correct.
And so they're all tied up. That girl's going crazy. She's accusing Lena of killing their friends.
Her name's Anya, by the way.
Anya.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you're the only one who saw them die, so it must have been you. And she finds out that, oh, Kane is her husband who was in the video she saw stab the guy. Basically, she's accusing Lena.
Yeah. Of being in on all this or whatever. She can't trust anybody, and all this starts because her own flesh is beginning to move. Her fingerprints were changing. It fucking brought on this insanity.
Damn.
So
cool.
When she's like having her mental break, she hears the woman who was snatched earlier cry out from the bottom of the stairs. Cass.
Yes,
Cass
you hear her
crying
voice.
out. And she goes down there.
She's like, holy shit. She is alive. And she starts running. And then all of a sudden you just hear this animal roar. And then just like quiet. And
and
it's just like, what the fuck just happened?
This is the best scene of the whole movie, in my opinion. I think I actually found this movie because this was listed as one of the top horror scenes of 2018.
Awesome.
And that's kind of what like seduced me into watching this for the first time. But this horrific mutated bear comes crawling up the stairs, and it's like its head looks kind of like a fucking like deer skull, where it's like, and like its flesh is all like mutated on one side of it, and its
looks
eyes
like it's rotting.
Its eyes all droopy down.
Big bear.
Huge bear, huge monstrosity bear, and every time it like roars, Cass is like screaming out. It's like her death anguish cries.
Exactly. It's like when it killed her before, like some of her DNA like absorbed into it and became it.
Yeah.
Or at least some ghost of her final moments. Just like that energy lingers on inside of it.
Lena had confirmed that Cass was dead. She found her corpse with her throat ripped out too.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting thing, that the thing was like screaming like her.
That is true.
So it's about to bite down on Josie's shoulder, and Anya's managed to crawl back up the stairs and start shooting it. The bear, again, this horrific bear human roar cry. That's like the most
it's creepy.
It's
And
very
this
creepy.
thing is scary looking, and the CGI is really good.
It's fucking really good. But it goes and it just totally fucks Anya's shit up, man. It wrecks her. It
rips her apart.
Yeah, it drags her down the stairs, and
She kind of deserved it.
I can't tell. Well, she did tie everyone up, which was a dick
She tied
move.
everyone up.
That's a
Fuck
fucking
her.
dick move. That's a dick move.
And it's not a safe move in this kind of environment.
Although it's like kind of fucked up that I'm like, when McCready did it, it's fucking awesome, but when when Anya does it, it's not good. But anyways, the bear fucking like knocks Anya's jaw off or bites it off. I can't really
Oh,
tell.
it's awesome. It just smacks her face and her whole lower half of her head
The
is
mandible
ripped apart.
straight knocked off, man.
It's brutal.
It's metal as fuck. The bear like comes back upstairs, and I don't know. They didn't even go downstairs. This all just happens in the stairwell. Josie, when the bear charged, it had broken up the chairs that the ladies were tied to.
So they're able to get free.
And Josie has managed to acquire one of the guns and just like again mag dumps into this monstrosity and kills it.
Up.
So at this point, we're down to 3. Ventress elects to push forwards. She's gonna make it to the lighthouse.
Yep.
She has terminal cancer.
So she has nothing to lose. She's gonna get to the bottom of this mystery,
correct.
no matter what. And Natalie Portman and the other character, Josie, they're like hanging out, and Josie's like, yeah, everything is refracting, and all the DNA is mixing, and it's just making me all tingly and weird and happy.
She has the line where she's like, Ventress wants to find it, you want to fight it. I don't think I want to do either of those things. And she like looks down, like where she was a cutter, by the way. That was like her self-destructive shit. She has these like little, it looks like leaves and like stems growing out of her scar tissue.
Out of her,
and she like saunters off, and Lena chases after her for a little bit, and she gets to this clearing, and it's just like a field full of the fucking people flowers.
People, the flowers.
Flower people.
Fuck, that is kind of unsettling too. It's beautiful and unsettling.
Have you ever, the Ween song Transdermal Celebration?
Of course.
Have you seen the music video?
Yes.
That's like the plot of the music
Hell
video.
Yeah. Badass.
The Ween guy like drops all the stardust down, and all the people turn into trees.
Yep.
And the dude's like, all the grown man's all sad about it.
That's an awesome music video.
It is. A famous Disney artist animated it. I'm forgetting which one it was, but he did one of the big Disney animated films.
No shit.
Yeah.
But Ween's got a lot of great music videos.
Fuck yeah, they do. Ween's my favorite band, maybe. It's up there. I don't know. I've listened to him a lot. What's a favorite band? So this Josie presumably turned into a fucking flower person as well, and is just like now mixed in. But what happened to her clothes? Like
flower people.
Wouldn't the clothes be on the flower person?
They're nudists.
But then she would have seen them on the ground.
Nudists.
Okay, whatever.
I don't know. Maybe the clothes turned into flowers.
So Lena elects to push on to get to the lighthouse as well. At this point, the landscape's real weird. It's all like crystalline, and there's like these like glass crystal trees.
It's interesting, and there is another point I wanted to make about this. At this point, it gets all crystalline. The trees look like they're covered in crystals or ice or something. And this is actually a nod to a novel called The Crystal World by J.G. Ballard. And in that book, someone's going on a journey through Africa, a scientist, and everything starts crystallizing.
That's a pretty heady thought.
It is.
It's real far out.
It is far out. So we also know this is a nod to that novel because the characters' names in this film, Ventress, Thornton, Radek, and Shepard, are the same names of the characters in that book. So it is just another nod to another source of literature. So the provenance of this story and script runs deep.
It runs deep. Selena's walking through this like crystalline beach landscape, and
it looks cool. It looks real cool. It kind of reminds me of Fantastic Planet. At one point, there's like weird crystals everywhere.
That checks out. Yep. Another great episode of Far Out Flicks. She finally sees the lighthouse, and the lighthouse is like mutated itself.
The lighthouse is like covered in has like a weird tumor.
It's like veiny.
Oh yeah.
A big veiny tumor on an already very phallic building.
Exactly. So She like gets to this lighthouse. She's like, "Oh fuck! Well, now I gotta go inside." And she goes inside, and right away you notice that there's like this burned body, and the wall behind it is all scorched,
Charred.
and yeah, it's fucked up looking. So it looks like someone set themselves on fire there.
Yep.
Because he's sitting in kind of like a lotus position almost.
Mm-hmm. And she like looks over and sees there's yet another handheld video camera set up on a tripod over there. She walks over and hits play, and it says,
Convenient that this guy was like filming himself like Survivor Man the whole time.
I'm glad they had so many. I mean, they would have some cameras, right? But it's like, why not just like a cell phone? She hits play on the handheld, and it's a video of her husband Kane kind of giving this monologue, sitting there in the lotus position. So, guess what? The skeleton is Kane. And he's just talking about how he used to be a man, but he's like not sure what he is anymore. And how, you know, his mind is gone and his flesh is like liquid.
Weird stuff.
Weird shit. And he says to like a figure seen off camera, like, "You can go find Lena." And the guy says, "I will." He looks at the camera and he says, "Have you ever seen a phosphorus grenade go off? It's pretty bright." Tells like the person off camera to shield his eyes, and pulls the pin. It detonates just instantly.
Boom. Cool looking scene. Cool effects in this scene.
Yep. It's also pretty gnarly. It's like self-immolation, but even faster. I guess self-immolation would be worse. Just like...
True.
Because then you gotta like deal with that for a bit. That would probably been pretty instant.
Yeah, you don't want to be live for long if you're burning to death.
No, fuck no, dude. Ooh.
The hotter the better at that point.
So, you know, the camera keeps rolling, and figure off screen walks into it, and it is a much cleaner cut looking version of Kane, her husband.
Also Kane.
The big reveal: the man that came into her home at the start of the film was not the Kane she knew, but a doppelganger.
Yes, a clone of some sort. And turns out, but it's like, okay, so why did Kane kill himself and send the doppelganger?
Because I think Kane's mind had just become too mutated.
Yeah,
he was
makes
gone.
Sense.
He was not even a man anymore. That thing was maybe more of a man than he was.
That is kind of a good question, though. Like, which one is more Kane?
At that point, it's tough to say.
True.
So Lena, drops the camera and goes down into this like hole that the meteorite crash caused. I got some like real xenomorphy vibes from this. Like,
this part was cool. Yeah, all the walls were all covered with like weird muscles and stuff.
Yeah. Kind of like lightly shimmering. It's very dark. Again, very H.R. Geiger-esque.
Yep.
And Ventress is down there, and she starts, I guess, telling Lena that, she found it, and she doesn't know what it wants. She doesn't know if it wants. She like erupts into this like brilliant blast of plasma.
Oh yeah, that part's real weird.
Real weird.
I didn't totally get that, but
it was like the being, I guess, had like taken over her, entered her, or whatever.
And then it turns into like this weird ether that comes out of her body in weird ribbons.
The ribbons, man, that's like super colorful. I mean, the whole film is just so vibrantly colored.
It's cool.
It's wonderful.
Her spirit
is horrific and wonderful at the same time.
Room.
Yeah, and it's like this bright light, and it like kind of like comes back into focus to this weird. I don't even know how to describe it. It's a being, this kind of like.
A humanoid is slowly being formed out of the light.
Well, not yet. It's at first it's that it's kind of like I don't want to say blob because it's very symmetrical and kind of like
this weird fractal kaleidoscope blob.
Exactly.
It has an opening that's like a kaleidoscopic psychedelic.
And it like sucks a drop of blood off of like a wound that Natalie Portman has.
And then you can see this drop of blood, like, slowly mutating and, like...
At the cellular level.
Exactly, and multiplying and spreading out.
It basically turns into this humanoid thing of similar-ish frame to Natalie Portman. It's definitely more alien-looking, more spindly. So Natalie, like, shoots it a bunch, and, like, the bullets just, like, trace through the body. And it gives it all these, like, crazy, like, bullet trace appendages sticking out the back.
Those are awesome.
Yep. So she makes a run for it after that, drops the gun, which is like, don't drop
Bad move.
Don't drop.
Bad move.
At a bare minimum, if you decide to go another way, you got the gun. You know?
We get dark on this podcast. We get real dark, folks.
You might, as opposed to
getting eaten by an alien?
Or, like, mutated by an alien?
I choose mutation.
I'd probably choose it, too.
Who knows? Maybe you'll end up being some kind of transcendent being.
Well, maybe that's the thing's goal. We don't know. Like, I mean, this is totally non-human, which is such a sweet alien concept.
I mean, you often talk about how the aliens want to breed with the humans. Well, maybe the way
Often.
they actually breed and multiply is more like...
Well, yeah, I mean, that's like its
cancer.
whole thing, is it just like it infiltrates and refracts and blends together with everything. As everything all is one.
It's almost like a virus that just breaks down the genetic code and then mixes it around.
Yeah, basically. It's like, I mean, it's not hive mind. Or maybe it is. I mean, it's so obscure and beyond our comprehension, it's tough to say. It's not like the Borg, though, you know.
Definitely alien.
But alien, a sweet concept for an alien. But
So-
Natalie Portman, you know, flees from this humanoid-esque...
Kind of looks like a
Cerulean.
robot almost.
A little bit, yeah. Kind of like those, kind of like the aliens in, God, what was that fucking movie about the AI?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
At the end of the movie, you know what I'm talking about?
Yep,
When
yep.
he gets to have a day with his mom or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's sad.
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 Not really. Who gives a shit?
This is not sad. This is eerie and creepy as fuck.
So this
She flees back up to the lighthouse main level, and there waiting for her is the alien,
It's already there, teleported. It's
Yep.
everywhere.
and it starts mimicking her movements.
This scene's really cool.
Yep. Every move, just like she moves towards the center of the room, the thing mimics her body.
Perfectly choreographed, like she's looking in a mirror.
Yep. So she makes an attack for the thing. She hits it with, I think the tripod, right?
Yep.
Yeah, she smacks with the tripod and it retaliates and hits her back. And, like, basically, you know, God, does it knock her out all the way?
She like knocks it down, but then it comes after her.
Yeah, that's right.
I think.
She gets, like, pinned.
Yep. Oh yeah, it pins her against the wall and it's like humping her from behind.
It's, like, kind of humping, but it's not, like, it's not really
It's
humping.
mainly strangling.
Well, it's, like, pushing its, like, head up against hers and her eyes are going all crazy.
That part's weird.
I think at this point it's like impregnating her mind with itself. So, like,
maybe, or just absorbing the
Both.
rest of
I think
her
it's
DNA.
I think it's doing both.
Definitely absorbs her DNA because soon after this, it changes its appearance to look exactly like her.
Yeah, they both lay down. They fall down in perfect symmetry, mirroring one another. And when it gets up, it starts to turn into basically an identical clone of Natalie Portman. Yeah, it's not like real clear what happens here, even at the end, which we'll get to. But like, part of me thinks it's like it definitely took some of her and put some of itself in. So it's like both her. It's the same being at the same time.
Right.
She's the original.
They
but
both
like,
swap DNA.
yeah,
Yep.
in a deep, weird way.
Damn.
So
That's not what you want.
Natalie Portman takes one of the phosphorus grenades and, pulls the pin, leaves it in the girl's hand, the thing's, whatever, its hands.
Right.
And then sprints away to the door, and it erupts, and it, ignites it on fire.
Hell yeah, burning with fire.
Yep. And it touches Kane's head, which is, real weird, which is also why I think, it absorbs some of her, or, some of her is now in that thing, because it's got, the memory of Kane.
Interesting.
Interesting, right? It touches it, and it stumbles back down into the chamber and fucking dies there, and like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And basically the shimmer stops after that, and now we resume back where Lena is being interviewed by the scientist.
Yep.
And he makes a comment about it destroying everything, and she says no, it's just changing everything. Basically saying it didn't want to annihilate us, it just wanted to change.
Badass.
Yeah.
It's just mutating. Doesn't necessarily mean annihilation, except
So
if you're the strong genes, if you're the winner.
Her husband made a full recovery, or what we think is Kane, or thought was Kane. And she goes into the hospital room with him, and she asks, "Are you Kane?" And he says, "I don't think so. Are you Lena?" And she doesn't respond. She just embraces him, and then both their eyes shimmer.
Yep. Exactly. So, are they real? Who knows?
They're definitely part of the that thing now. It's seeded them.
And I would imagine that if it seeded them and they still exist and weren't destroyed, then it could still spread out of them.
In the books, I believe Lena ends up in the third book. She's a seed point for the things, a second attempt to take over the planet, basically. And she fuses into the landscape, and it's fucking weird.
Badass.
That actually does sound kind of badass, but
badass.
Yeah, some people don't like it.
Fair enough. Well, The movie's great.
The movie's great. Even the end credits have great visuals. This film is visually stunning.
Kicks ass. And it also features one of our favorite bands, Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Oh, yeah.
Their song, Helplessly Hoping.
Which we coincidentally listened to earlier today.
Yep, great song.
Before
great
selecting
band.
this film.
If you don't know about Crosby, Stills, Nash, check them out.
I guess, maybe. Who doesn't?
Dude, some people don't.
You're right. We gotta
That's pretty old.
Preach the word. Preach the word, Brady.
We're old white men.
We're not that old.
Dude, but we are, because we know about Crosby, Stills, Nash. Don't presume that everyone knows that.
I am in my early 30s.
But you have the mind of an old white man.
That's not a good thing anymore, man.
I've dated a lot of girls whose dads all like Crosby, Stills, Nash.
I hear it, but you can't say you've got the mind of an old white man. That's not a good thing.
That actually just means you're racist now.
That's basically what that means.
Well,
take it back.
Sorry, you're not. You're a middle. You're
maybe
younger.
My music taste, but I like young people music too. I like EDM. I like hip hop.
I like the Lil Waynes, the whatevers.
The Cardi B's.
The Cardi B's, the wet ass pussies.
Wet ass pussies. The song is kind of hot.
The song's hot.
It is hot. See, we're in. We're trendy. Anyways, guys, thank you again for joining us this week for Far Out Flicks.
It's been fun. Great fucking movie.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, you guys didn't vote this one. We just had to bring it in ourselves, but we're happy to just...
When you want something done right, you gotta do it yourself.
Yep.
As always, please subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment, recommend to a friend. You can share right in app with pretty much all the podcast apps. So send it to your aunt. Send it to your uncle who drinks a lot.
Honestly, just spread podcasts in general because
But, like,
it's such an
ours-
underappreciated media.
Ours specifically, though.
Ours specifically. If you have to download an app just to listen, it's worth it.
It's worth it. 5-star reviews, too, guys. I live for it. It's all that's keeping me together. Every
Exactly.
5-star review.
Exactly. If you send us an email, we'll read it.
We'll read it out loud. We'll read it on here. It's your chance to get out on the radio waves without having to do anything other than type an email.
Exactly. Alien experiences, anything kind of far out, we want to know.
We want to know.
And maybe you can... Exactly. Alright, anyway.
That's it. That's this week's episode of Far Out Flicks.
Catch you next time.